Hello, folks. This is Jordan Chariton with Jordan Chariton. Let me know if you could see me. Let me know if you could hear me. At this very moment, I have 0 viewers, but I do see a thumbs up sign, so that gives me hope. As you could see, I'm slightly disheveled. If I'm being honest, it is 1:15 in the afternoon, and I have not showered yet. Give me some benefit of the doubt because I had surgery on Thursday on my lower back. If you didn't know, to be brief, had lower back problems for a few years, and it just progressively got worse, especially traveling as much as I was. And I got an MRI like 2 weeks ago, and the MRI showed that I had a really large herniated disc that was pressing into my sciatic nerve, and a piece of that disc had broke off, and it was lodged in my spinal column. So that's not positive. So they took out that disc fragment. I posted it on my Facebook, which is probably dumb of me. It kind of looks like a really long piece of chicken. It was very gross. Anyway, went to the doctor this morning. Healing is going well. Starting physical therapy on Thursday. And physical therapy will be like 6 to 8 weeks. But I will be reporting during those 6 to 8 weeks, as well as starting to build up in efforts to launch a company. If you've seen some of my previous videos on this YouTube channel, which, by the way, I'm not bragging at all because it's really thanks to you. But like, damn, this YouTube channel is growing quick. I think I launched it last week. Is comments on? Hold on. Show. I want to see comments. Show live chat. Okay. Yeah, we're at almost 6,559 subscribers, and this thing went up last week. I mean, it shows not because people want me so much, but they really, really want the reporting on stories that no one else is covering. I'm not going to compare the subscriber growth to other channels, but let's just say we're growing equal to, if not faster, than other channels. And I haven't done videos in a few days. So thank you for that. I will be doing physical therapy, like I said, but also reporting over the next few weeks. Wanted to give you a few updates so you know what's going on with me. You know some things that are coming up, as well as some other things. Oh, it's weird. I see comments on my laptop, but not my computer. Anyway, wanted to give you a few updates. So first, if you didn't know, I released chapter 4 of my book on the election, on unprecedented election fraud last week. It's up now for patrons, patreon.com/Jordan Chariton. I've gotten some good feedback on it. I might even write more on election fraud based on the feedback I've seen. I was gonna wait a little while and like let that sit before releasing chapter 5, but I need to release chapter 5 very, very quickly because what I'm seeing out there, like the I say it wrong every time, the D triple C, going after progressive candidates in Texas. You got Tom Perez, that brainiac DNC chair, on TV yesterday saying Donald Trump is the worst president in history. I don't think Trump is a good president. I think he's a bad one, and I think he has potential to be one of the worst. But has everybody lost their minds? Did George W. Bush not happen? Did the Iraq War not happen? Did the economic collapse not happen? Like, what is this lunacy? Anyway, so since I see the establishment, both with their treachery and sabotage of progressive candidates in Texas and elsewhere, I've talked to a lot of local candidates that have gotten no support for the Democratic Party and actually have gotten opposition behind the scenes from the Democratic Party. You got that going on. You got the chair being an idiot. I'm going to release chapter 5 this Sunday. Chapter 5 is on my experience at the Democratic National Convention in Philadelphia in 2016. I think the Democratic National Convention, if you were there, we all had some PTSD, but I think it was this perfect mix of just establishment arrogance and condescensions and, popping the champagne inside, while the youth of America and a lot of older people are in the streets rioting, basically, peacefully. I mean, the dissonance between what was going on inside and what was going on outside. I tried to write it and explain it to you, but it hasn't been out there, so I think you're going to like it. There's some things you don't know that happened at the DNC convention that I knew that are in there. Also, some personal things. You might not know that my girlfriend at the time, we broke up as I was taking a train down to Philadelphia. So that, me and my personal situation, if you care, I try to personalize the book as much as I can. I was on the train down to Philly, and my girlfriend at the time, we broke up. We had been dating for a year, kind of thought it was heading towards marriage. So I kind of talk about that while dealing with the chaos. You got everything from, the march on the media tent to, them basically sabotaging Nina Turner from speaking. It's all in there. So I'm going to release that Sunday. Patreon.com/Jordan Chariton. Exclusively for my patrons. You could donate, subscribe. $1, $3, $5, $7. There's a bunch of different levels. I'm also on Sunday going to do a private chat for my patrons at all levels. All levels. If you subscribe at $1, you subscribe at $3, you subscribe at $5. Every single patron, I think right now I'm at, let's see, 347. 347 patrons. So I'm going to do a chat on Sunday with every patron. I'm not technologically savvy, so we might have bumps in the road in that chat, but I think it will go well. So that's what's going on with the book. We're going to release that. Again, chapter 4 is already up. I'm also going to be next week, after chapter 5 is released, I'm going to be launching something else that I'm not going to tell you about now, but I think you'll like it. I did something in January during my time off that I'd never done before. It's kind of what the cool kids are doing. So you're going to see what I did in January. I'm also, with that, I'm going to be launching something new, probably middle of next week. The Patreon links are in the description now. Some of you don't like Patreon. You could also, contribute via PayPal. Those links are there. I also wanted to talk about Truth Against the Machine because I've gotten some comments, questions. I actually briefly addressed it in a separate video, but I wanted to address it further. So there's no questions. And everybody knows what's going on, why, the who, what, where, why, and when. So I've ended Truth Against the Machine. The small dollar donors, your payments have stopped, I believe, a month ago. Thanks to Jen, my business partner. She's done a lot of that stuff, so you're not being charged anymore. A lot of the reporters, several of the reporters who were reporting for Truth Against the Machine now have their own pages. So maybe I'll start blasting that out on my page. So Teresa Joy, Marcus Ely, Sam Oser. So they're doing reporting on their own channels. I'm still in touch with them. Great relationships. So here's basically Truth Against the Machine in a nutshell. I actually, when I launched Truth Against the Machine, it was around this time last year, actually. I was still at the Young Turks, and honestly, my time at the Young Turks, I literally was kind of working every day for 2 years and many, many hours. I launched Truth Against the Machine really, in my mind, I was never really going to be that involved. I was never going to be the face of it because I had every intention of being a TYT for a long time, growing as a reporter and, maybe launching my own network one day. But Truth Against the Machine was really, to me, more of I guess you could say, an experiment to try and cultivate, grow non-traditional journalists, people that didn't, have a journalism degree or have years at CNN under their belt or whatever. Try to take people like me. Like, I had journalism experience before, but I didn't have 10 years of experience. I thought I had talent. I had a drive and persistence, and I wanted to basically give an opportunity for people like that to elevate their their voice and their reporting and their drive. I actually got the idea for Truth Against the Machine when I was at Standing Rock because there was very little like national media there, but there was a lot of freelance media like documentary filmmakers, photographers, Facebook live streamers. There was a lot of those. And I thought to myself, wow, you have all these people who are kind of going on their own on their Facebooks with pretty much small audiences. What if I could kind of help cultivate and create like a central hub for these kinds of journalists? So that was a thought behind it. I never thought, honestly, that I was going to be the face of it. I really just thought I'd have a background role in terms of mentoring people and this and that. And if I'm being honest, a little behind the scenes, there were a lot of folks there who were frustrated because I wasn't really that involved. I wasn't responding to their texts. I wasn't mentoring them because frankly, I didn't have the time to do that. It's very difficult when you're going through documents all day or calling sources in Flint and elsewhere and doing 2 or 3 videos a day and trying to go to the bathroom and having a life to then like be the figurehead of a company. It actually was a non-profit, not a company. So I wasn't able to be involved, and honestly, it just wasn't my intention to be involved. I wanted to bring in people, and from the background, be a mentor. I ended it because number one, to me, again, you know, obviously plans changed. I wasn't expecting that to be at TYT. I wasn't expecting to launch my own thing. I wasn't expecting to kind of be the face of anything, and which is ultimately my new network. I will have other people with me, but to me, Tatum, the original the original idea for it was more for me to be in the background and to cultivate other people around me that might not have journalism experience. Whereas what I'm building now in the background, by the way, I'll leave you in suspense. We do have a name for the company that will be revealed at a later date. It's a badass name. I think you're gonna like it. I think you're gonna be excited. But this new company, to tell you the truth, keeping it real, I don't have time in this new company, this new network, this media revolution, to be a mentor to many people. I don't. I have the levels of corruption in this country, the level of stories that need to be covered. It's going to take an army, and unfortunately, I can't train that army as I go. So that was one reason I wanted to create something new. Another reason was part of what I've always had an interest in. Let me give you a little behind the scenes the last few weeks. I've met for lunch, for a drink with a lot of different people, some of them in media, some of them East Coast media types. And I've told them what my idea is, which is a very, very large in the field operation, disappearing middle class type reporting, from interviewing, single mothers struggling in a Walmart parking lot to going into streets in Detroit, to Flint, to East Chicago, to all over the country. And not just me, other people. And they said, "Oh, that's such a nice concept. Oh, brownie points for you. That's very noble. But you're never actually gonna like make a business out of that. You're never gonna actually like that's not a business model. You can't make money off of that." And I told them, "You're wrong. You're wrong. You can." And frankly, TYT's audience proved that by donating $2 million to TYT because they wanted more of that kind of reporting. It wasn't because they wanted more of me and my disheveled face in my parents' kitchen where I am right now. They wanted more people in Standing Rock and these other stories, whether it was me or anyone else, didn't really matter. So to me, it's very important that not only because I feel it's ethically right and morally right to do this kind of reporting in a sea of sensationalized nonsense, but also I want to show that this can be a successful business model. With that, I wanted to launch a for-profit company. Tatum was a non-profit organization. So that it's really that simple. There's no sinister evilness. There's no financial corruption. None of that. It's because Tatum, I was never going to be the figurehead of Tatum. And it really was meant as kind of an experimental ground to mentor and cultivate new people and bring up new journalists. Whereas the for-profit company, yeah, we might have people down the line join us as reporters that don't have 10 years of journalism experience, that don't have all that, and that's fine. But the intention of it isn't really to train new people to become journalists. I'm very open to people with different experiences, not like journalists, but keeping it real, it's not going to be, me or other people on the ground, 16 hours a day doing reporting and then training people at night. There's just, unfortunately, there's no time for that. So I also wanted to make clear because I've seen some comments, and I don't I have no problem with it. You want transparency and you deserve it. So some people have said and asked, well, where did the money go and yada yada yada. Contrary to what some other people said, we actually paid a lot of the reporters we had with that money. I think at one point, I think Tatum had like 20 to 25 volunteers. Did not pay, this. They were paid as volunteers. They weren't paid as like full time anything because we didn't have the money for that. But paid out on as regularly as we can. Reporters, video editors, the top editor, our marketer. So really, there's nothing more. Nothing sinister. That's where the money went. Secondly, some people have said, well, what about you, Jordan? You're asking people to subscribe to your Patreon. You're asking, you're acting like you have no money. Blah 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 blah. What do you got under your pillow? Well, first of all, do you not see that I'm in my parents' kitchen right now? So, for legal reasons, I can't really get into my wallet in terms of anything that I recently might have, any funds that I recently might have earned. I can't get into for legal reasons. There's really nothing more I could say legally. It's not because I'm trying to be shady. It's just I can't say anything. I can't talk about certain funds that might have come my way or any of that. But I can tell you this: if, for those that are like, oh, Jordan's a billionaire and he got all of his money, no, not the case. I promise. And if you'd like to ask Jen, who's in the comments here, because she's my business partner, if I'm rolling in it, she could comment on that. Secondly, I have nothing to hide, so I'm going to be as transparent as humanly possible. Right now, you could go to my Patreon page. It's patreon.com/Jordan Chariton. I have 347 patrons, and right now, per chapter, pledged $1,397. So basically $1,400 pledged per Patreon, per chapter from 347 patrons, which is great. I want to keep growing it, not only because I have rent to pay and have to live, but I'm trying to show that this is a business model. Real reporting, doing not only videos from my kitchen, which for the time being is what I'll be doing because I just had back surgery, but the reporting in the field. There will also be other things other than video. I don't want to get into the whole launch idea, but I have other plans than just video. I have a lot of plans, very devious plans. So totally fine if you want to know where money went, how much I have right now. I'm not going to empty my wallet for you, but you could go to my Patreon right now. That's how much is pledged right now. I hope to grow the page. People like Jimmy Dore, I think, have over 3,000 patrons. Kyle Kalinske has great patrons. I consider myself, humbled to even be thought of in the category with those folks. I love Jimmy's coverage. I love Kyle's coverage. There's other independent media commentators, reporters, whatever you want to call them, that are doing great stuff. So honestly, the bottom line is this: I am writing a book. I'm going to be launching something next week that's different than the book. And I've said it I keep it real. We need to walk the walk as a collective progressive movement. Because if we want to crap on the corporate media, that's fine. I love doing it. I do it pretty much all day on Twitter. That's my life right now. But we also have to help support the journalism we want to see. And I don't look at it as a charity. I don't look at it as donations. We're not donating to Salvation Army, which, by the way, there's some corruption there too. Maybe I'll do that one day. We are paying for a product. We are paying for real journalism. But I want to make something very, very clear. Um, I don't need to be a multimillionaire. And you save this video to call me out as a hypocrite one day. But that's not my interest. And if you've been friends with me, if you know me, like I'm not some big spender, contrary to some suggestions or claims that have been made. I'm actually pretty frugal. I'm actually one of the I don't want to say cheap, but I do watch my money. I certainly watch other people's money. Um, I mean, I won't get into examples, but I am not looking to be a multi-billion-dollar media plutocrat. If I was, I probably would have accepted two job offers I got during the campaign outside of TYT for a lot more money. I got two job offers from July to October of 2016. One of them for double what I was making at TYT. But I wouldn't be able to look myself in the mirror if I would have went to that outlet. So I also want to talk about transparency going forward. Listen, here's the bottom line. I am being very direct with you. I'm not pulling punches. I'm not hiding anything. I will be pursuing investors for a for-profit media network. Some of those investors, for whatever reason, might want to be silent investors. Just off the top of my head, when I was at TYT, I interviewed someone, a viewer wanted to pay off her student loan, and he wanted to be anonymous. So Jenk did the segment, and we didn't reveal the name. I've I've been speaking to a few people that aren't going to be dropping like $20 million per se, but might want to invest small amounts, this and that, but they might not want it out there for whatever reason. That happens in companies, but I'm not going to say no, I won't take your money. But if I have large investment, that you will know who is investing. Trust me. I also think, I mean, the bottom line is you either know me or you don't. I'm not looking, and I won't accept investment from certain corners of the oligarchy, certain corners of the revolving door, um, just to get this thing launched. Because, yeah, in theory, let's say Charles Koch wants to drop 20 million on me with no strings attached, no editorial control. Theoretically, I could take that money to then fight Charles Koch. But I don't know. So a big part of me would feel pretty damn dirty about taking Coke money, even if I was using it for good reasons. So I won't be doing that. And if you question that, if you question, my intentions, I say follow my actions because for the last 2 years, I haven't been covering Trump 24/7, which, by the way, would have grown the YouTube channel I had for TYT Politics, faster. If I would have just done the obvious and did Trump 24/7 during the campaign, I mean, I probably would have, and honestly, we grew fast anyway. TYT Politics, the first year I was there, grew faster than any other channel the company ever had. So not only did I show you don't have to be a hysterical 24/7 Trumpite, but the point is, my actions have shown you, I hope, that this isn't some mad dash money scheme for me. I'm not going to be David Brock's not going to be investing to my company because I don't want to be in the same room with David Brock unless I'm politely harassing him, non-violently. So that's what's going on. That's why I ended Truth Against the Machine. There's nothing sinister. There's nothing sinister. It's simple. It's simply it was a nonprofit. I wasn't. It was launched. Contrary to some suggestions, I really wasn't involved. I think I might have done three or four written articles, and maybe I could count 3 or 4 videos. The rest was me mentoring people. But that was one stage and now we're moving to what I consider and what I call, not because I want to be cheesy and have a bumper sticker, but I truly think it's necessary, a media revolution. That's what's needed. And it's going to come out in steps. I wish I could launch a company tomorrow. I wish I had the money to do that. But I also want to make it very clear to you why your help is needed. Because I've seen some comments, "Oh, Jordan, you're like a telemarketer online. You know, stop asking people for the money." Here's why: it's not just money that we need, but particularly to actually give you what you want, and I think people need, which is in the field reporting on the front lines of the disappearing middle class, on the front lines on the war on poverty, on the front lines of environmental genocide, on the front lines of an epidemic of police brutality, on the front lines of real democracy being under attack. You probably have no idea of all the ballot measures that people have voted for, the people have voted for that state legislatures have then overturned. What about that attack on democracy? So it's expensive. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. From the flights to the rent-a-cars to the hotels to food to equipment. I mean, I remember Ty and I did a town hall in Flint, Michigan last year, and just the costs for that town hall in a church were thousands of dollars of last-minute costs, technically, for technological things. So it's not cheap to do it right. It's not cheap. But there will be transparency. You will know that I am not, you will know and see that I am not dining out on your funds to go to Wolfgang Steakhouse. I'm more of a Sizzler kind of guy anyway. So that's that. I also want to make clear, going through the housekeeping notes, we will be releasing something next week. This is for people who weren't in the beginning of this. Jen, send me a text message because it escapes my mind when we're releasing Chapter 5. I thought Sunday, but I could be wrong. Don't you like when somebody comes to do video and give you updates but doesn't know what the hell they're talking about? I'm not on pain medication, by the way. So let the rumor mill stop. I'm not hopped up on anything other than Dunkin' Donuts. Oh, okay. So we're going to release Chapter 5 Wednesday or Thursday. So that's like, what's today, Tuesday? That means tomorrow or Thursday. And then we're going to do a chat this weekend for patrons. We're going to do a chat for patrons Sunday for all patrons. So even if you've subscribed at $1, everybody's welcome. Whatever you want to talk about. There's certain things I can't talk about because of legal things. There's certain things I can. We're also going to talk about this. Do you see what's going on there? I got gray hairs. It's like an inferno in my beard. Yes, I think it's stress. If you didn't notice, it hasn't been a walk in the park the last few months. So I'm debating, not that you want to know about any of this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I'm debating because honestly, I'm not a vain person. I don't look in the mirror, but I am a little self-conscious about the gray hairs in my beard. I can handle the gray hairs up here, but the beard is like, I don't know. The beard is a very sacred thing for a man or a woman, if you, whatever. It's a sacred thing. You know, I've had this beard for, I don't know, on and off, 7 or 8 years, but I really haven't shaven it in probably 4 or 5 years. And now it's like there's gray whiskers all over. So I don't know what to do. I don't know if I color it or I shave or just let it go. I think I'm going to let it go. My mother said to me this morning, "You really need to go get that beard. You got to go get that beard taken care of. You look like a gorilla." And by the way, Jen's going to be mad at me because she thinks I'm I'm too personal. Like I give too much information about my personal life. And I think she's right. But I believe in, being real. So I've been sleeping in my parents' bed, not with them. I am 31 years old, but I've been sleeping in my parents' bed since my surgery because the other bed is really small and I just had back surgery. So like I need to get comfortable. So I've been sleeping on one side and my dad's been sleeping on the other side and my mom's been sleeping in the other room. So last night I'm sleeping and I've been sleeping on my side and I feel something like kind of lodged, like kind of laying on me. And I thought it was my parents' dog. So whatever, the dog is, I'm thinking the dog is like laying on me. And then like it gets closer, like around my waist. And I'm like, what is Rusty doing? Well, it wasn't the dog. It was my father thinking I was my mother. That ended very quickly. So, when you want to know when you're at rock bottom in life, it's when your father gently caresses you, thinking it's his wife. So, anyway, TMI. But that's it. Chapter 5. The title is It's Not Always Sunny in Philadelphia, if you get it, because of the DNC convention in Philadelphia. Will be released tomorrow or Thursday. I'm going to shoot for tomorrow, but most likely Thursday. Become a subscriber to read it. Patreon.com/Jordan Chariton. The chat will be for everybody on Sunday. You'll get an invite to that chat if you're a patron. And then next week, I'm going to be launching something brand new, and it will feature something you've never gotten from me. It's all the rage nowadays, and I think it's really good. It's something I did in January, and I think you'll like it. Other than that, as always, you could message me on my Patreon, preferably. You can message me my email, jordanchariton@proton.com, I think it is. Jen, tell me if that's wrong. And that's it. I'm going to shave and trim this up for you next time. Might do a video tomorrow, might not. Share this video so for people, who have any conspiracy theories about me, they have the record straight from my mouth. And I really hope you'll subscribe. I really hope you're excited about the future. I will do one quick, not really a story, but an observation. So, I was watching cable news yesterday because I like to go against doctors' orders. They told me not to. No, I'm just kidding. But I was watching cable news yesterday, and you got this guy, Sam Nunberg. He worked for Trump from like 2011 to I think 2015. He got fired. I don't know if he was drunk on CNN and MS. He did this like tour de force of interviews, and did I don't know, probably incriminated himself. He seemed like he was either drunk or having a manic episode. Neither of those, I'm not joking about either of those things, but it seemed like something was off. And he basically was like, I'm not doing a damn thing. I'm not going to talk to a grand jury. Mueller can, arrest me, whatever. So like the corporate media is eating this shit up. It's like, they really, in reality, the corporate media creates news and content not based on what's actually relevant, but based on what they're themselves interested in, what they themselves find, popcorn worthy. That's really what CNN, New York Times, it's a profit-making scheme. I mean, once in a blue moon, you'll get good journalism from them, but that's once in a blue moon. Meanwhile, this morning, I saw, and I might do a longer video on this, but this morning, Jordan on Jamal Thomas would be awesome. I do like Jamal Thomas. When I start doing interviews again, I'm going to go on Jamal's show. I like him. I saw Morning Joe because, again, I just want to continue to poison myself while I'm recovering from surgery. So they are like 24/7 on this Sam Nunberg and what he said and what does it mean and is it Watergate, or as Thomas Friedman has said, Pearl Harbor. He compares the Russian interference to Pearl Harbor, to 9/11. So then they had Congressman Jim Himes on. He represents Connecticut. And, they're asking him about Sam Nunberg and this interview and what does it mean and yada, yada, yada. And you could tell, like, Joe, his wife Mika, they are engaged. John Howman, all the usual establishment bots. This was the only thing that matters to them. So Robert Costa, who is a Washington Post columnist, I think he has a show on PBS. I traveled on the plane with him when I was covering Trump. Seems like a nice guy, like dean of the establishment as you could get as a reporter. Pretty much breastfeeding, excuse my French, from operatives, basically. Just regurgitates whatever they tell them, whatever he gets from them, to just keep the hamster wheel of horse race bullshit going. Because that's really what most of these reporters do. They just keep regurgitating. They're like PR people. They just regurgitate what political operatives tell them and spin it as news until you get to the Viagra commercial, which pays the bills. Or the oil commercial, because CNN and MSNBC allow big oil to advertise. And if you want more insight on what the corporate media is really like that, patreon.com/Jordan Chariton. I digress. So Costa, the Washington Post guy, Viagra oil, that would be really, really greasy. I don't know if I'd like that. I don't watch corporate news because it's just freaking yellow journalism. Couldn't agree. Breastfeeding is natural and should be a proud moment for mothers. I agree with that. So, Jim Hines, Robert Costa says, Jim Hines, why aren't more Democrats running on Russia? Why aren't more Democrats around the country running on the thing we here in New York and D.C., the thing we care about? Our democracy was under attack. Why aren't more people running on Russia? Oh, God. I don't question Jordan's integrity. A little too much ego is my only concern. You know what, Lori? I have heard this as a criticism, and honestly, I think you're right. I think I have had too much of an ego in the past, and I'm going to work on that. It's as humble as I can get. This isn't about me. I've refused certain jobs that I would have made a lot more money and frankly been known to a wider public because it wasn't in my heart and it's not what I want to do. But I am going to, I think sometimes I'm a little boisterous and that comes off as full of myself. So I'm going to try and get rid of that because I don't want people to think I'm an egomaniac. I really don't. And you got to call a spade a spade. I've learned some things over the last few months, my strengths, my weaknesses, and I'm going to work on that. So thank you. I think it was Lori. So what's his face? Costa says asks this to the congressman. The congressman says, well, Robert, the people in my district of, I think, Fairfield County, Connecticut, one of the richest districts in America, they care a little bit more than, say, the people he named a congresswoman from Ohio, in the Rust Belt, which we lost to Trump. When you ask the people in the Rust Belt about Russia, they don't really care. And it was almost like telling Robert Costa and the people on the set of Morning Joe that your cat is missing. You should have seen their face. What do you mean they don't care? They don't care in like Gary, Indiana about Russia? They don't care in like Dayton, Ohio about Russia? Like the cognitive dissonance on why this con man, orangutan, who is a con man, misled these people in the Rust Belt, was able to win those regions is still so vigilant. They don't understand. These corporate outlets and certain independent outlets, to be honest with you, don't understand why huge swaths of America, it's not just the Rust Belt, there's a lot of other regions, don't care about Russia. When you ask them what's on their mind or what's their top issues, it's healthcare, the economy, violence, for some regions, immigration. They don't care about Russia. But when you watch Morning Joe or CNN or read the New York Times or even frankly like Fox.com, BuzzFeed, all these places, it's an alternative reality. They don't get it because they're not out there with those people, which is why I'm launching this company. Because you got to be out there with the people. Let me tell you something. If I'm admitting it, before I was at TYT, before I was out in the country, I was a lot more of a capital D Democrat than I was like an independent progressive. Because I didn't know as much as I do now. I didn't see as much as I do. A lot of the places that I went to cover had Democratic mayors, Democratic governors, Democratic state legislatures where people are getting poisoned or black people are getting massacred at unprecedented levels or Democrats are corrupt. So it's not to say, oh, Republicans are like good. No. But like, if I spend all my time, if Jimmy spent all his time, like everybody else, focusing on Republicans and just letting the Democrats be slightly less bad, but still corrupt, nothing's going to change in this country. And frankly, Republicans aren't the one pretending to work for the working man. That's the Democrats. Republicans are pretty open and transparent about their corruption and who they're for. See no further than Marco Rubio on stage at that recent town hall over the Parkland school shooting. So maybe I'll do a video where I could show you that clip, but it was so telling to me because this is the type of journalism that the majority are being exposed to still. Morning Joe, a set of cosmopolitan cocktail crowd, you know, elites that think some guy who might have been drunk or off his meds or whatever having a spectacle across two channels. I think he did 5 interviews, and Russians trolling and penetrating the election system through troll farms or whatever is the most fucking important thing. So the journalist asked, well, why aren't more Democrats around the country running on Russia? Well, if you want to keep Trump in office, if you want to keep more Republicans in office, you should run on Russia, because that's what's going to happen. Go tell the people in Michigan working 2 to 3 jobs because you sold their jobs to China that Russian trolls are their problem and caused it. Or the people in Flint, East Chicago, Wilmington, North Carolina. I just posted about something in Colorado this morning, Arizona, all the places that have water contamination, and they're scared for their kids about Russia. I remember when I interviewed someone in Wilmington, North Carolina, I asked her, do you care about Russia? And she looked into the camera dead straight and said, I do not care about Russia. I want to know that my kids' water is safe. And I've said this to people online and on social because I'm called a Kremlin puppet because I won't join this hysteria. 2 things could be true. I have no problem with there being an investigation into Trump's campaign, because you want to know something? If they actually proved, keyword proved, that Trump's campaign collaborated, coordinated, colluded, whatever you want to say, with a foreign government, Russia, Saudi Arabia, I don't care, to hack his opponent's emails and distribute them, that would be a major fucking scandal. I'm just keeping it real. That would be scandalous. Do I think it's akin to Pearl Harbor or 9/11, which I've heard in the comparisons? No, I do not. No. Thousands of people died at those places. But I think cyber warfare is a real thing, and it should be investigated. What I have said is, as journalists, the fact that we have spent 2 years basically in a giant it's like one giant game of hide and seek on CNN, in the New York Times, like little crumbs, and speculating about those crumbs, what it means, and the downfall of Trump. And I would say this honestly, if it was about Hillary Clinton or any other president, it's not because I like Trump, but all of this speculation, all of this hysteria, when there's no facts or proof to show that the original charge, because I was on the campaign trail, the original thing that the Clinton campaign and their cohorts in the media were saying is Trump's campaign worked with Russia to hack her emails and distribute them through WikiLeaks. That's what the original claim was, but the bar has moved so far to now, like, collusion means, I don't know, Trump's son met with the Russian lawyer, and did Trump know about it? I don't think that's illegal. That's not something, as far as I know, that's not illegal. If there's something wider than that, sure. But let's wait for the investigation. Of course, reporters, they could seek out and try to find out what Mueller is working on or what Mueller has found out. No problem with that. That's called journalism. But endless segments and whatever, and in economics, which I dropped after 2 days, there's something called the opportunity cost. Well, what's the opportunity cost of covering this 24/7? Half the people don't know if their wells in their community have water contamination. Most of you probably don't know, but St. Louis is murdering more black people than some countries murder, period. Most of you don't know, if you've had ballot measures in your state that the people voted on, that your legislature overturned. It's happened in South Dakota. It happened in Maine recently over ranked choice voting. Most of you probably don't know if, there's a epidemic of bullying and transphobia going on. Thank you, Kristen Saunders, for becoming a patron just now. Just saw that. Thank you. Most of you don't know that there is, it's not just big oil. Do you know how bad, big aggro is getting away with murder in your food, that's something I haven't covered much. I mean, there's so many different things to cover, and it's going to take an army and it's going to take a media revolution. I'm not knocking commentators because I think there's people like Jimmy and Kyle and Lee Camp and so many, Jamal Thomas and so many others, crucial that we have their voices. And they present a lot of things that I might not cover. Like Kyle, for example, I think is one of the best on foreign policy. I haven't covered foreign policy much because I think America's so fucked up at what's going on here. I focus on that. But I have learned a lot just watching him when I can. So you don't need to be in the field to do a good job and to have something to offer. I feel based on my experience, it's just another layer that's needed, a further layer. Because you know what? There might be things that Jimmy, because he's not out there, doesn't even know about. So how's Jimmy going to go crazy over something if he don't know about it? CNN's certainly not informing him about anything. So that's where I'm hoping I come in. I do have some people in mind to join me that I think are dynamic. I think are really aggressive. I think are really think differently because it's not just people that are willing to sacrifice in their life in terms of traveling and it takes a toll on your body as I've just shown you. I just had surgery. It takes a toll on relationships. You sacrifice. It's not. I'm not going off to war, but it's a sacrifice to do in the field journalism. But you also need people willing to think differently. Because let me tell you something. If I and I give TYT credit, I did in a separate video. If I went to most outlets, it would have said, 3 weeks before the election, I want to go to North Dakota because they're really trampling on native rights and putting a pipeline through the longest river in America. Most news execs would have told me to go back to my desk. If I would have told my bosses at MSNBC, CNN, or a lot of places that I wanted to go do a disappearing middle class tour through Pennsylvania, Michigan, Illinois, Wisconsin, Ohio, just to interview random Americans who are struggling, they would have not only told me go back to my desk, but maybe go to the nurse on the 11th floor. So, I give TYT credit for that. They definitely were for me doing those things. Since then, who knows? But that's about it. I could ramble on. I'll take a few comments, questions, concerns. Ian says oligarchs are under the Russian security apparatus. Yeah, there's a lot of Russian oligarchs, for sure. OG Johnson, no dapple, hashtag no dapple, couldn't agree more. I did a video last week on Standing Rock water protectors still getting screwed in the legal system. Randy the Wild Horse, I shared on Twitter. Thank you, Randy. OG says, I loved your Dapple and Flint coverage and loves Indiana coverage as well at Jordan. Thank you. I appreciate it. There's a lot more coming down the pike. Edith Warden says, so true, Mike Ballsy. Remember the DCCC told Dems only to offer thoughts and prayers, and Hill stood up there and said single payer was a pipe dream. You know what, Edith? I remember Hillary saying that because I was in that gymnasium and I was sick to my stomach. That's called the soft bigotry of low expectations. Yeah, Hillary Clinton. I will admit this, and I tweeted this, because I got to keep it real, whether you like it or not. I'm never going to just tell you what you want to hear. I did underestimate how bad Trump would be on the environment. She would have been better. That's not to say she's great, because she pushed fracking all over the world. But they're shooting yourself in the head and like scraping your arm. And I think he is shooting us in the head and our environment. And that needs to be fought against. So that, you got to acknowledge where you might have underestimated something. He is a lot worse on the environment than I thought. Gabriel Accardi, New York election fraud. Where you been, Gabriel? Chapter 4 of Corporate Con Job was released last week. It's all about the New York primary purge and other election fraud. Go subscribe to download. And let's see. Quad Pod, thoughts on California Dems and Feinstein non-endorsement. I think that's a smart play by the California Dems, which are very, very establishment. But make no mistake, California Dems don't do anything without Nancy Pelosi's blessing. So Nancy Pelosi, I think, is trying to throw a bone to progressives because Nancy Pelosi is thinking to herself, well, her dream. That's why she stayed in office. I think she's in her 70s, I believe. She the Bernie wing feverishly. So that's why California Dems are not endorsing Diane. He chooses or not is a different story. Um, what else? He is a cancer for real on the environment. Fucking shame. Couldn't agree more. Let's see. Every Republican was going to be horrible on the environment and was going to fight to give massive tax cuts to the rich. That's a given. That's true. But he is a lot worse. Trump has been a lot worse than even Bush on the environment. And David, hey, I'm a college student in Corpus Christi. I'm a volunteer for progressive candidates, but I want to be a journalist and activist as well. How do I begin? That is a bad. Uh, I'm so tired. That is a great question. David, here's what I say. People will tell you to network. People will tell you to go to journalism school. People will tell you a lot of different things. I don't think there's a one size fits all for what you should do. But really, to me, you really have to, number one, step outside of your comfort zone. Most people don't know my story, but 5 years ago, I took a $25,000 pay cut. Uh, I was getting paid decent as more than decent as a uh, producer. I was doing digital production, and I switched full time to writing. And if you know writing, it's not you're not going to make a lot of money just as a writer. But I did that because I wanted to pursue my passion and I wanted to finally get my voice out there. And that writing is what ultimately led to, at the time, meeting Cenk and getting the Young Turks job. Obviously, I have different feelings now based on what happened with the Young Turks, but I would have never met Cenk or got this job if I didn't make that decision to change my career course and become a writer full time. Secondly, you need to start doing, I don't know what you want to do. If you want to write, you need to start writing, even if it's your own blog, and just getting it out there. I would recommend writing and doing video because we're in a video time. There's very few outlets that aren't pushing video. So even if it's Facebook Live, if it's YouTube Live, if it's Periscope, if it's whatever shit they come up with by tomorrow, don't worry at first about the viewership, right? I just launched this channel last week. At first, I think I was getting like 40 viewers, 50 viewers. Now we have 186. Granted, I have a built-in audience. People know me, and I'm lucky. But at first, like on TYT Politics, nobody knew who I was. That channel, and frankly, they weren't promoting it much. So that channel was from zero. Sometimes it could be your mother, your grandmother, and the mailman watching. As long as you start cultivating your voice, I also suggest finding a niche that isn't being covered. So whether you're passionate about water contamination, police brutality, income inequality, minimum wage, whatever it is, become an expert or an authority on one or two specific things and get content out there that nobody's getting. That's how you get ahead. And it's not overnight, but you know what? You might start doing video. After a couple months, your audience starts going up, or one video you do randomly gets shared by like Lee Camp or Sean King or somebody, and all of a sudden, your channel starts exploding. So I would encourage you to start writing, start doing video. There's realities in life. You obviously need to make a living, so even if you have to have a more corporate job, so be it. Do it on your free time. I had corporate jobs while I was doing freelance writing. So, and maybe I'll do a special Patreon video or seminar. I sound like a professor. Chat for people who want to get into journalism and tell you my experience and my advice. Maybe I'll do that. Last question. Getting in Donna Brazil's face. I did. Glad you're on the mend, Jordan. Did the numbness in your Achilles go away? Actually, I went to the doctor this morning. It wasn't that my Achilles was numb. My Achilles reflex was non-existent because basically because of the disc fragment that was broke off and was lodged in my spinal cavity, it basically was blocking my sciatic nerve from functioning, making my Achilles reflex, like when they when a doctor like taps on your knee and it bounces, like my knee was bouncing, but when he tapped on my towards my ankle, your Achilles is near your ankle, no response. I still have numbness in my foot. The doctor tells me that that's not unnormal after this surgery, especially for the size of my fragment, which was like, I mean, go to my Facebook. Pretty big fragment. He said that first the pain goes away and eventually the numbness should go away. He was honest. He said you might have a little numbness period, like long term, but it should go away based on my age. So thank you for asking. I will also tell you if you don't like my Facebook page, I don't like you. No, go like my Facebook page. Obviously, Facebook is suppressing independent media. The algorithm change is really, really hurting independent media. So I'm not going to be doing as many things there, but I will be doing video, posting things from time to time. Facebook.com/Jordan Chariton. I leave you with this as we hit 180. If you want to be part of the media revolution, start coming up with ideas now. Jen Dyes, who is my business partner, she is a vibrant young woman. She tells me off when I need to be told off. Um, she has told me about my beard. She has also told me when I'm over the top, so she will rein me in. Um, she'll post my Proton email, so if you have questions about journalism, if you have ideas, this and that, I'm not going to be as available as I was when I was with the Young Turks because I can't. I mean, I need to separate a little bit, but I will try to respond to that email as much as humanly possible. Right now, I got some time on my hands, so I'll try to respond to those emails. Don't ask me, you know, what my favorite color is, brown. But if you have questions, comments, concerns, feel free to email me. Also, if you're interested in potentially investing with the company, I'd be happy to talk to you. Obviously, I'm not looking for $20 investments, but if you're looking to invest, I truly believe, based on my record, based on the data, this will become not only a media revolution, this will become a very successful company down the road. And to leave you in suspense, I do I did come up with the name for the company. It has been approved. Let's just say a hint. Overthrow. Peace.